Bitcoin has advanced above a major downtrend line and, more importantly, above a major level of resistance at 40,000. The question is this a change in trend? Should you be buying into this rally? We'll analyze this in detail in today's crypto update. Before we dive in, please keep in mind that all content is purely education. It is not intended for you to use to trade your own account, nor is it a solicitation for business by our firm Asset Solutions. All right, today is Sunday, February the 13th, 2022, Super Bowl Sunday, and getting this update out to you hopefully at least taped before the beginning of the game. Probably get it distributed out by tonight or tomorrow, Monday. But let's start off by taking a look at a daily chart of Bitcoin. Let's take a look at that breakout. So in front of you is Bitcoin. You can see this was the advance to new all-time highs here in November of last year. And after that, this is the decline. It is defined by this downtrend line, this orange line right here, which contained all of the price action up until the breakout that we saw at the beginning of February. It is a defined downtrend, which is defined by a series of lower lows and lower highs. And so you can see the price structure here. This was the end of the advance where we saw price of Bitcoin advance to new all-time highs. You can see a series of lower highs and lower lows. So you can see this high here was followed by a lower high here, a lower high here, a lower high here. And you can also see that same series with regards to lower lows. So you can see this lower low was followed by this lower low. So you can see a series of lower lows, lower highs that defines a downtrend. But that downtrend is now in question. Why? Because we no longer have a series of lower lows and lower highs. So you can see that this was the most recent high prior to the advance that we just saw here in February. And you can see that the high that we achieved this month recently right here is higher than this high. So we no longer have a downtrend technically. And so, but we don't have yet a series of higher lows. So you can see this was the lower low. So if we do see a pullback, let's say hypothetically to 40,000, and I say that because it's very important for price to stay above 40,000 because that is major support. And if you're bullish Bitcoin, you want price to stay above major support. So if we do see a bounce in this area above 40,000 and it advances above the previous high, which is somewhere around 46,000, then you would technically have an uptrend. And then the question lies, is this uptrend going to have legs? Is this going to be a strong enough advance for you to risk your hard-earned money and buying into it? And we're going to take a look at the technicals that underlie this chart and determine what are the odds that this advance continues. Like I've mentioned in previous updates, what you want to do when analyzing any breakout is to look at volume. You want to see a breakout occur on very high volume. Volume is going to be the fuel that propels price higher. And in the absence of it, typically what you see is an increased odds that that advance is going to fail. So let's go ahead and look at a weekly chart of Bitcoin and see what kind of volume did we see comparatively in this breakout relative to other successful breakouts. So in front of you is a weekly chart of Bitcoin. Over here on the far right-hand side of the chart is the breakout, this green bar right here. And you can see right here, volume is pretty anemic. So volume, you can just look at the green bar in the bottom right-hand corner, very small, especially when you compare it to past successful breakouts. So when we go to this right here, this was a breakout out of this downtrend. And look how high the volume is there relative to the volume on the current breakout. You can do the same thing right here with this breakout. Look how high the green bar is on the initial breakout compared to where we're at currently with the current breakout. So when you look at volume, volume is not confirming the breakout. Therefore, I am going to stick with our forecast that we put out in both our 2022 Bitcoin forecast as well as the most recent 3-month forecast, where I indicated that I felt the odds were extremely high that Bitcoin was going to fall at least to 30,000, if not lower. Now, does that mean that I think Bitcoin is going to fall straight down from here? I obviously don't have a crystal ball. I don't know with absolute certainty. What I do know is this breakout occurred on really low volume, so the odds of it being successful and advancing for any meaningful period of time is low unless new money comes in. And maybe that happens. Maybe right now we see a bunch of new money coming in, Bitcoin advances to new all-time highs, and we see volume increasing substantially. Maybe that happens, but we have seen absolutely nothing from this point to suggest that that has a high probability of occurring at this point in time. All right, that is my take on the recent breakout in Bitcoin. In the second half of today's update, I'm going to dive in a little deeper and take a look at why did Bitcoin break out in the first place given market technicals are so weak? Where did those buy orders come from? So with that in mind, let's go ahead and get started. Now we know volume on this breakout was relatively low, but the volume that we did see that pushed price higher, I don't think that's a lot of new money coming in by investors to buy Bitcoin. What we just saw was more of a short squeeze. And all that a short squeeze is when you're an investor and you're trying to profit on a security or on Bitcoin, in this case, going down, what you do is instead of buying it at some point, you actually sell it first. So you're selling it in hopes that it's going to go down and you're going to be able to buy it later at a lower price. And the way you manage your risk in this situation or in this trade is you create a stop above the price that you just shorted at. In the event that you're wrong and price goes up, your stop gets hit and you buy it back at a higher price. And the amount that you're risking is the difference between where you shorted at and where you're going to buy it back at. And so what happens when enough people do this and they place their stops at a similar area and price goes against them, then all those buy orders get hit, and that's the volume that creates the increase in price. And I think that's what we just saw. What I want to do now is show you a chart to explain why I feel that this was probably a short squeeze and not new money coming in to propel price higher. In front of you is a 4-hour chart of Bitcoin, and we've narrowed our focus just to highlight the current advance. And you can see here the green line is that 40,000 level, which was acting as major resistance when price was below it. The orange line was that downtrend line, and this was the breakout. We had price advance above major resistance, above a downtrend line. So that technically is a breakout. The reason why I feel that it is a short squeeze and not new money coming in is, one, the volume was pretty low when we compare it to previous successful breakouts, but just the price structure. You got to think in terms of a trader. And when you're a trader trying to profit on a downtrend, what you typically do is short as price advances and starts to break down right under a major area of resistance. Now, let's look at the trade setup that I think created the short squeeze, because this was almost an ideal spot to short Bitcoin as it was breaking down. If you look at the chart in front of you, you'll see Bitcoin was advancing into resistance. We have this trend line right here, which defined this advance. And as price started to break down, as a short trader, you would have started to short. You would have shorted right here, probably on a breakdown of that trend line. A lot of times what you see from a pattern perspective is when a trend line gets violated to the downside, Price then advances back up to the area of the trend line, and then it breaks down and starts to decline. And so as a short trader, you're typically going, if you're scaling in, you would have scaled in right here and shorted as it broke below the trend line decisively. This is exactly the candle that you would have wanted to see. And then as it advanced up and touched the trend line, you might have even added to those short positions, and you would have placed your stops in probably one or a couple of areas. I would have looked at this high here as resistance, and so you could have placed your stops here, which are effectively buy orders, or you could have placed them right above 40,000 because you know that's major resistance. And when price actually reversed, what happened is because volume was so low, it didn't take much volume to push price up. And those buy orders were hit here. Those buy orders were hit here. And if that's the case, then that would mean that a good portion of the volume associated with this breakout is not new money coming in to buy Bitcoin, but simply short traders getting stopped out of their trade. And then you combine that with the fact that the breakout occurred already on low volume, that would suggest that the odds of this advance continuing are very low. So there you have it. That's my thoughts on this recent breakout. Obviously, I don't have a crystal ball. I don't know with absolute certainty where Bitcoin is going. But what I do know is the majority of the underlying technical evidence is suggesting that risk is really high and the odds favor Bitcoin continuing to fall. Now, obviously that could change. And if it does, if we see Bitcoin advance and we see major volume coming in, then we can obviously pivot and alter our Bitcoin market thesis. But at this point, the breakout looks like odds favor it failing. If you have any questions, please feel free to shoot me an email. Good luck. I hope everyone enjoys their Super Bowl Sunday. Good day.